we shouldn't allow Turkey into the European Union. Right now, we're not saying, not ever, but right now, because there are still a number of areas in which we want Turkey to change. Specifically, we want them to find some kind of solution to the Cyprus issue, and we want them to find some kind of way in which to say sorry for the genocide of the Armenians in 1915. We cannot get them to do that if we just give them everything that they want. In a negotiation, you keep some things on your side of the table and you wait. That is how negotiation works. In particular, that's how it works when you have leverage. And the European Union has leverage because it is the one with the power and Turkey does not have the power. Right, that's the argument. Do you believe that you can have deeper analysis of that argument?
Yes.
Yes, right? How would you do that?
The leverage of the European Union on Turkey.
Okay, so do that. Explain that now.
In the previous speaker talked about blah blah blah, and then to say, I'm going to show you why we need to keep this leverage to make those difference, and I will show you how making them how to bring them to inside the European Union will make the leverage go away. So they won't change, won't do peace with Greece, etc.
That sounds remarkably like what I said. I understand, I think I get exactly what you want to do, and I agree with you if that's where you want to go. Do you want to jump in?
I want to take it in a different direction and say that the previous speakers said about the fact that we need them to apologize for the genocide of the Armenians in 1915 and for the Cyprus issue. As we can see, this is established by their fundamentalist state, and therefore we need them to change their fundamentalist values and go into more Western, and have them first change the values of their society first, and then we can add them to our society when they're more equal.
Okay, so you say this is representative of a wider malaise within the Turkish state. It's not just those issues, it's everything else as well. Okay, that's a possible extension. I think there are going to be better extensions that fall out from this, though.
And you can give an example of how leverage worked so far inside Turkey in regards to human rights, women's rights, in correlation with common law and even other laws which are customs in the EU right now. Now they change because of leverage, and then maybe to show another country, either Eastern European or otherwise, in which also leverage works in the same way. So you can show it works in another country and in Turkey in other fields.
Yeah, I think, and that you can mix these two things together. So it's to say, are there words or concepts that were left unexplained? I did not really explain what leverage was in my exposition of that argument. How leverage works, where it's worked in the past, why it might work in the future if we keep Turkey hanging. By that, so to generalise that though, is to find processes, and leverage is essentially a process, and to actually go through each step of that very specifically and that's detailed analysis, right? You're saying, look, opposition have said, this, we will lose leverage. We want to unpack that because this is important. Turkey is a country that we want to change, right? Turkey has, and then you say, still problems with women's rights, still has problems with freedom of the press, still has problems with civil and military relations. In addition to that, we agree with first opposition that Armenia and Cyprus are issues. What's at question here is, how do you change a country? What are the processes by which that happens? We're going to analyse what happened in the immediate post-communist world and how we were able to change and transform those communist states into free market economies. We're also going to analyse the changes that have occurred in Turkey between 1980, probably 1992, and now, and show why that process isn't complete, but how it could be completed in the future, given previous experience. And then you go step by step through that story. Now, as a judge, I'm going to be more persuaded by the second of those, as opposed to my throwaway. Mine took about 1.5 minutes, right? My leverage argument. This leverage argument is going to take about 2.5 to 3 minutes. But in second proposition, I only have to really bring 2 arguments. I have, if I want to, 3 minutes with which to take this important part of their case and really build on it through process. So a step-by-step. Okay, so that's another way in which to provide your deeper analysis of something that's happened earlier on in the debate. So this can also be a case study. If you've got process and if you've got evidence, the final way to do that, in my view, not the final way, but one way in which I'm going to give you advice, is to try to unpack something that was left asserted by somebody else. And this will more generally be in the principle arena. Always look, and unfortunately you're not in the other room at the same time as being in this room, but we all know that debates turn around certain rights, certain right clashes, certain principles. So the typical ones being the individual versus the society, or you have security versus liberty, or you've got freedom of speech, or the harms that accrue. Right, almost every single debate comes down to one of these in the end, right? Which incidentally was going to be one of my responses to this. If you don't have knowledge, just find a principle, run with it, if you can. Because it doesn't matter, like if you know nothing. I could give you a motion like let's not get there, I'll give you that motion in a second. So the third one, if you see something hanging in a case, so it doesn't always have to be, incidentally, a principle. In my one, where I said the Armenian genocide and Cyprus, if proposition haven't made any response to Armenia and Cyprus, and I think in that debate that by really expanding on what that means, similar to what you were saying, so what it means for that society to still not apologise for that apology, why it's so important that we keep them outside until they do, and talk about how if you don't actually, if you don't acknowledge your past, how you can never be able to educate your future generations, 1. 2, how genocides continue in their denial. Everyone in this room is going to be fairly au fait with this type of argumentation. So in denying a genocide, you actually continue that genocide, is one point of view. You can actually then go into that argumentation. So you find a specific word or phrase that was placed there, asserted, no evidence, and build an extension on that. Or find an area where implicitly someone was supporting, for example, freedom of expression. So if you've got the, let's now use the other debate, which is this house would ban all advertising. Now, if first opposition have said, look, it's quite clear that that there are going to be a lot of harms in this debate. There are a lot of harms to getting rid of advertising. The media industry is going to collapse because overnight you've taken away all of their revenues. The print media is already struggling all around the world in the face of opposition from the internet and free media, and also advertising willingness to throw money at search advertising as opposed to the print media. If you take away all advertising, it's quite obvious that the print media, and of course television, is going to be hampered. We don't believe that that's something that is worth it because we can't see the harms on their side. Right. I've on purpose left that debate, that argument, unfinished. But that could quite reasonably, would you accept that as a judge as an argument against banning all advertising?
You should show that killing the media is inherently bad.
Yeah.